Welcome back to Law and Crime. I'm Michael Bryant, and looky here. Those were my first words as a baby, actually. Looky here. It's Angenette Levy. Yeah, she's here because we have a very special segment for you. We've been watching this very interesting trial out of Florida. The defendant, Franklin Tucker, charged with homicide, charged with robbery. That's not all that unusual in the cases we cover. This relates to a 2017 stabbing death. He had a couple of co-defendants as well. They allegedly go to this crack house. They're looking for cash that is rumored to be there. What is very interesting about this case, as we've begun to see earlier today, the defendant representing himself, even though offered a plea deal. How was the deal? Walk away. You can go away with time served. He decided, nope, I'm going to go ahead and go to trial. And by the way, I think I'll represent myself. So Angenette, you know, you got to speak to this guy. It had to be a hoot. Tell me what that was like.
Well, Michael, it was really interesting. I not only spoke to him, but I spoke to his wife, Law&Crime. She is the founder, or the co-founder, I should say, of CrossFit. And it's a very interesting story because she actually has known him since they were very young. They reconnected on Facebook. Then she gets word through another friend on Facebook that he's been charged with murder. So she reaches out to him to help him. She was in a position to help him and was going to the jail to marry him because they reconnected and developed a relationship over some jail calls and video visits. And she put up $2 million to bail him out. So it's a very interesting part of the story. Ty Tucker, he maintains he did not do this. He said that he told Lauren that he didn't do this and that he would never take a plea deal for something he didn't do. So I talked with both of them after day one of the trial. Ty is very brave to represent himself. I don't know if it's always a great decision, but we talked to him about that and many other things. So take a listen.
My thing is, because a lot of people keep on saying that me and my lawyers had this falling out and that's why this happened. I went pro se because of that. Now, my lawyers literally fought to be my advisors while I'm going pro se. So I'm not in this fight by myself. You know, I actually do check in with them. You know, they give me advice on what's going on, what they think I should do. I mean, Kara, over lunchtime, she must have printed me up, I don't know how many different forms, you know, because, I mean, she has a whole closet dedicated to nothing but this case, right? So my lawyers are still on my side, and the bottom line is for what we needed to do at the time, right? There's a reason they call it a defense team. You know, I had to take the ball because, look, the things we were going to need to do and to try and make this any kind of fair, right, or try and get some kind of fair playing field here, right? Yeah, Jerry and Kara, they have careers, right? They can get disbarred. There's rules for them, right? By me going pro se, it changes the game. You know, now all of a sudden I can do a few things that they can't, right? Because look, I don't care if they disbar me. Good luck with that. You know, I'm not trying to be a lawyer in the first place, you know, but the bottom line is yeah, it was my turn to take the ball. You know, now are they still on my side? Sure, all day. You know, they've been so supportive, it's not even funny. You know, and I've got, you know, my beautiful wife over here who, you know, she's got some good ideas too. And she helps me quite a bit.
Okay, so Angenette, I noticed a couple of things here. He's certainly confident. He has some attorney confidence working for him there. He's got a shirt on. I don't know if it says "not guilty" or "not so smart," but it's not something. You know, can you tell us a little more about this guy?
Well, it definitely says not guilty, Michael, and he is confident. You know, I think that he could be a little nervous. He said he was a little nervous during his opening statement, but he then started feeling pretty good about things. I mean, he just feels like the state doesn't have any evidence and that he got wrapped up in all of this somehow, and nobody's listening when he says that he didn't take part in this. He had lived at the Treehouse for a short time, he says, when he moved to the area, but he maintains that he is innocent. That shirt definitely says not guilty. He was talking to us after a long day in court, so I think that he was a little tired, as you might be, as you are not only fighting for your life, and that is emotionally draining, but also representing yourself. So I wanted to play a little bit of a clip on where he talks about how this all unfolded, Michael, and why he believes he got kind of wrapped up in all of this.
Now, how I get mixed up in this whole thing is, okay, I had some friends, CJ and Michelle, right? Now, I knew them because Michelle used to manage the Burger King, and CJ used to work at, worked. I think it was something electronics, something like that, right? But anyway, so I knew these people, right? And they were renting out a room in the warehouse, right? Because it was kind of like, I don't know if you know what conch style living is, but basically it's when you have a house or something like that, and each person rents a room, but you share a kitchen and a bathroom and that kind of stuff, you know. So anyway, so it was kind of like that in there, right? But somebody had done it in a commercial warehouse as opposed to a residential area, so it wasn't exactly legal. But I showed up one day. I don't remember why I was there, but the thing is CJ and Michelle were there, and CJ had hit one of the other roommates, the white Detroit, right, ended up punching him, right, and his nose was bleeding, all this other stuff, right. So, but he got a restraining order put on him, right. So CJ had to leave, right, and Michelle was going with him, right. So, and they asked me if I would stay there for a few days just to watch their stuff, made sure nobody stole it, because they couldn't take everything to the hotel with them. You know what I mean? They had pictures, kid pictures, stuff like that, right? So I'm like, okay, I've got off for a couple of days, but in a couple of days I got to go back to work. So, but I can at least do that for you, right? And in that couple of days, this is when all this happened. It cost me 6 years, for doing somebody a favor, But it's okay though. I mean, look, it is what it is. I can't change.
Okay, I might have to wait for the Lifetime movie to better understand this story. And there will be one, I tell you. Help me.
I think so.
Help me, Angenette. What's he talking about?
Well, he's saying that he did a favor for somebody. It's kind of one of those types of things, and that's how he got mixed up in this. It's a little hard to follow, but I think more details about that are going to come out as we make our way through this case, and it's a little convoluted because he was at the Treehouse at one point in time. Not that night, he said he wasn't going there to rob anybody. He was not there that night. But he did know some of the players involved, of course. But he contends that he did not do this crime, that he was not involved in any of this type of stuff. So it's very convoluted, Michael, very hard to follow, but he says he was not there. So we also talked about the trial itself and how he thinks it's going. So let's take a listen to that.
The bottom line is they've never had evidence, ever. Right, in the entire case, right? And there's a good reason for that. It's like everybody wants to keep putting me there, but it's like, okay, there is no DNA evidence. There's no forensic evidence. There's no video evidence. Every witness says it wasn't me, right? Except for him, And man, he got what? A deal for getting off, got off a life sentence, and gets off for 5 years with some probation. I'd take that deal too if I was him. Well, actually, I can't say that because I'm not like that. But man, that's still besides the point. The bottom line is like I don't really blame him in a sense. I blame them for giving it to him. That's the bottom line. Look, the prosecutor's the one to blame here. So they're actually making some of my points for me, and man, that's where it's helpful. It's like, look, the one thing is okay, yeah, they may know the law better than me, they may know procedure better than me, all that other stuff. But I'll tell you, I guarantee you, they don't know the case better than me. I've spent 6 years of my life, and man, Lauren has spent thousands of hours helping me. And man, we have dug into this thing as far as you can dig down into it. I know what happened in a lot of the areas here. That's why when Fernandez tried to say that, there was no more evidentiary value on that video, I knew exactly where to go. I've watched that video probably 1,000 times, easily. It's just, one of the things about this whole thing is, even our defense team to begin with, when we hired Kara and Jerry, I made it under the understanding that, yes, I make all final decisions, right? Because in the end, it's me who has to pay. I'm paying the check here. Now, that's the way I felt. Is my behind is the one that's going to pay the check here if we lose. And there were a lot of problems, and I'm not, I don't really want to go into all the issues with the case, but man, I mean, there's a ton of them, and we'll deal with some of those after this is over, but this phase, we got to go through this phase. And it got to a point where, okay, this is what needed to happen for a second. We'll see what happens, because I said, Karen and Jerry are always on my side, and they're helping me a lot here. So I'm not alone, not strictly per se, let's put it that way.
So, Angenette, we've been watching him cross-examine one of the cops, and, it's not horrible, and he's sort of likable. Don't underestimate the power of likability. How do you think he's doing?
He's not a lawyer. This is just a regular guy, and I think all in all, he's doing pretty well, and he's asking good questions. And according to him, he knows the case better than anyone, Michael. He's been studying this for years. He's been studying the evidence for years. And I think that one thing that's important to point out, he's had 6 years to look at this stuff and to study the evidence. Also, I should mention, this was the first time that he's spoken publicly in an interview since the gag order in this case was lifted. So he had a lot to say. We were really interested in speaking with him because of that. And I think he had a lot more to talk about, and we'd like to talk to him some more, of course. But he is doing, I think, a fairly good job, and I think he feels confident. Now, will the jury find reasonable doubt? We will have to wait and see. We just don't know. This is day 2 of the state's case. But I think for somebody who is not a lawyer, who believes in his own innocence, he is doing fairly well. So I think it's just going to be a waiting game to see how the whole case plays out.
Yeah, makes it fascinating. We've seen some represent themselves where it's kind of a slam dunk. They're out of their depth. This is interesting. So congrats to you for getting the interview. It's fascinating stuff, and I'm sure we'll hear more from him. I think he kind of likes you.
Yeah.
So, he's very chatty. So thank you for coming on to share that.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, Michael, we also spoke with his wife, Law&Crime, so we'll have more of that on Crime Fix. We're going to have some of her interview as well. So it was a team effort getting them to sit down with us, but we're glad they did.
Well, great stuff. And as you mentioned, don't forget Angenette every day, Crime Fix on our YouTube page. So check that out. We'll see you again next time, Angenette. Thank you.